The first thing the aliens noticed about Earth was not its oceans. It was not its cities. It was not its technology. It was the atmosphere. And according to every scientific model in the Galactic Council, humans should not have survived it. The discovery happened during humanity's first appearance before the Council of Civilizations. For nearly 3 centuries, Earth had remained isolated. Human ships rarely traveled beyond neighboring systems. Human diplomats avoided major galactic politics. Their fleets were small. Their colonies were few. Their influence appeared insignificant. To most species, humanity was just another young civilization struggling to find its place among the stars. Nothing more. Nothing special. Nothing threatening. That assumption would not survive the week. The Council Assembly Hall was designed to impress newcomers. Hundreds of species occupied floating platforms, arranged around a massive central chamber. Some representatives breathed methane, others required ammonia. Several lived entirely within liquid environments. The room itself constantly adjusted its atmosphere to accommodate thousands of biological requirements. It represented the diversity of the galaxy and its hierarchy. New civilizations were always placed near the outer rings, far from influence, far from power. Humanity received one of those seats. Many delegates barely noticed them. Others looked amused. The humans appeared physically unimpressive. No claws, no natural armor, no venom, no enhanced sensory organs. Nothing remarkable. Just fragile-looking mammals wearing formal uniforms. Several species quietly predicted humanity would become dependent on stronger civilizations within a few decades. The meeting proceeded accordingly. Humans listened, observed, and said very little. Then the Vrax Dominion requested a routine biological assessment. The Vrax were among the oldest members of the Council. Their scientists maintained one of the most extensive biological databases in known space. New species were regularly analyzed and cataloged. The process was normally uneventful. Humanity was expected to be no different. The scan began. Within minutes, confusion spread among the research teams. Several analysts requested recalibration. Others assumed equipment failure. The results made no sense. The lead scientist ordered another scan. Then another. Then a fourth. Every result remained identical. Finally, the Vrax delegation requested permission to present their findings publicly. The request was granted. That was when everything changed. The lead scientist projected Earth's atmospheric composition above the chamber. A rotating hologram appeared. Data streamed across the display. For a moment, nobody understood the problem. Then the percentages appeared. Nitrogen, oxygen, trace gases, water vapor. The room became silent. Several representatives stared at the numbers, then checked them again. Then again, because something was wrong. Terribly wrong. One delegate finally spoke. That oxygen concentration cannot be correct. The scientist nodded. It has been verified repeatedly. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Most advanced species avoided oxygen-rich environments. High oxygen levels accelerated combustion, increased cellular damage, created countless biological complications. Many civilizations considered oxygen-rich worlds moderately hazardous. Earth's atmosphere exceeded acceptable safety margins for numerous species. Yet humans evolved there naturally. The revelations continued. Gravity data appeared next. More silence followed. Earth's gravity was significantly stronger than the galactic average. Not catastrophic, but unusually high. Then came the pathogen count. Then environmental volatility. Then weather patterns. Then radiation exposure. With every new statistic, the chamber grew quieter. Earth was beginning to resemble a planetary nightmare. Yet humans sat calmly in their seats, apparently unaware that the galaxy's leading scientists were having a crisis. The final report triggered open disbelief. The lead Vrax scientist cleared his throat, then displayed a probability model. The simulation analyzed the likelihood of intelligent life evolving under Earth's conditions. The result appeared: 0.003%. The chamber erupted. Delegates demanded explanations. Scientists argued with one another. Several insisted the model must be incorrect. Yet every recalculation produced similar results. According to established galactic science, humanity should never have evolved at all. The human representatives looked confused. One diplomat finally raised a hand. What exactly is the problem? The Vrak scientist stared at him, then answered honestly, "Your planet is trying to kill you." Laughter spread through the human delegation. Actual laughter. The reaction shocked everyone. The scientist was completely serious. Earth possessed dangerous gravity, dangerous oxygen levels, dangerous microbial ecosystems, dangerous climate instability, and dangerous geological activity. By every known standard, Earth qualified as a death world, a category so extreme that only a handful existed within surveyed space. The humans simply smiled, as if this information were obvious. The incident quickly spread across galactic media. Within days, humanity became a source of fascination. Curiosity replaced indifference. Researchers requested access to human biology. Medical institutions wanted genetic samples. Military analysts became interested as well. Because if humans evolved under such conditions, what exactly had those conditions created? The first answers arrived sooner than expected. A month later, a mining disaster struck the Cathari colonies. An asteroid fractured unexpectedly. Several extraction platforms collapsed. Thousands of workers became trapped. Rescue teams responded immediately. Unfortunately, the environment proved unstable. Secondary collapses continued throughout the operation. Most species followed standard emergency procedures. Secure safe zones. Wait for stabilization. Then proceed carefully. The approach was logical, safe, efficient. Human rescue crews ignored it completely. To the horror of local officials, the humans entered the collapsing tunnels immediately. Without waiting, without hesitation, without apparent concern for personal safety, alien observers watched in disbelief. The tunnels continued collapsing. Structural failures increased. Conditions worsened. Yet the humans kept moving deeper. Hour after hour, one by one, survivors emerged. Then more. Then more. By the end of the operation, human teams had rescued over 800 trapped workers, a number every expert had considered impossible. The official report concluded that the humans had accepted unacceptable risk levels. The human report reached a different conclusion. The risk had been manageable. The phrase became famous for all the wrong reasons. Because the conditions described as manageable by humans were considered suicidal by everyone else. Interest in humanity intensified. Military organizations launched investigations. Medical researchers expanded studies. Psychologists began examining human behavior. The deeper they looked, the stranger things became. Humans possessed unusually high pain tolerance, extraordinary recovery capabilities, remarkable adaptability. But none of those discoveries explained the most troubling observation. Humans consistently remained calm in situations that terrified everyone else. The mystery deepened when council researchers gained access to historical records. They expected to find evidence of humanity gradually taming Earth's dangerous environment. Instead, they found something astonishing. Human civilization had emerged while fighting that environment constantly. Floods, droughts, disease, earthquakes, storms, predators. Every generation faced threats that could destroy entire societies. And yet, humanity continued advancing. The pattern fascinated alien scientists. Most civilizations evolved under relatively stable conditions. Humans evolved inside chaos. Then came the event that changed everything. The event that transformed curiosity into fear. It began with a routine survey mission near the outer colonies. At first, the reports seemed insignificant. A few missing vessels, communication delays, sensor anomalies. Nothing unusual, nothing alarming. Then an entire patrol squadron vanished. No distress signal, no wreckage, no explanation. Within days, similar incidents appeared across neighboring sectors. The disappearances spread, and nobody knew why. Emergency investigations began immediately. Military fleets deployed. Scientific teams analyzed every available record. Weeks passed without answers. Then a damaged surveillance drone finally returned. Its data was incomplete, corrupted, barely recoverable. Yet one image survived. one image that would soon terrify the entire galaxy. The recording showed a massive shadow moving through deep space. Something enormous, something alive, and something heading directly towards civilized space. The footage ended abruptly. The drone never transmitted again. Across the council, panic began spreading. No one knew what the creature was. No one knew where it came from. But every expert agreed on one thing. If it continued advancing, entire sectors could disappear. And when military leaders asked how humanity viewed the threat, the human response was deeply unsettling. Because instead of fear, humans appeared to recognize it. The reports continued arriving. More missing ships, more vanished patrols, more unexplained sensor failures. Whatever was moving through the frontier sectors showed no interest in communication. No demands, no warnings, no signs of intelligence. Only a trail of disappearances stretching across dozens of systems. Military leaders attempted to establish a pattern. There wasn't one. The creature ignored some vessels completely. Others vanished without a trace. Entire stations reported strange gravitational distortions moments before communication ceased. The uncertainty terrified everyone. An enemy could be fought. A mystery could not. Throughout the crisis, humanity remained strangely calm. That fact became increasingly difficult to ignore. Council officials watched human military briefings. They monitored emergency meetings. They analyzed internal communications. The expected signs of panic never appeared. No widespread fear. No frantic mobilization. No desperate speculation. Humans simply gathered information, studied the evidence, and waited. The behavior unsettled alien observers because it suggested familiarity, as though humanity had seen something similar before. The first clue emerged from a scientific investigation. Following the atmospheric revelation, several research teams had already begun studying Earth more closely. Now those studies accelerated. Scientists hoped understanding humanity might explain their reaction. Instead, the research raised even more questions. Earth was not merely dangerous. It was absurd. The deeper researchers looked, the worse it became. Earth's oceans contained predators larger than transport vehicles. Its forests housed venomous organisms capable of killing creatures many times their size. Its deserts could reach temperatures that exceeded industrial operating limits. Its polar regions could freeze exposed tissue within minutes. Its weather systems regularly produced storms powerful enough to destroy cities. And somehow, humans had evolved in the middle of all of it. Not sheltered from danger, surrounded by it every day. For millions of years. One VRAC scientist summarized the findings during a council presentation. The room listened in stunned silence. We initially believed humanity survived despite Earth's conditions. The scientist paused, then continued. We now believe humanity evolved because of them. That statement changed everything because it suggested a possibility few had considered. Perhaps Earth's dangers weren't obstacles. Perhaps they were training. Historical records supported the theory. Human civilization repeatedly faced extinction-level disasters, pandemics, famine, volcanic winters, meteor impacts, global conflicts, environmental collapse. Again and again, humanity adapted. Again and again, they survived. No matter what happened, humans found a way forward. Alien analysts began noticing a pattern. Most civilizations developed stability first, then technology. Humanity developed resilience first. Everything else came later. The realization spread quickly through military circles. If Earth's atmosphere, gravity, and ecosystem constantly challenged survival, then every human alive represented the product of millions of years of relentless selection. Not for strength, not for speed, for adaptation. And adaptation was difficult to predict. Then another report arrived from the frontier. A civilian convoy had survived an encounter. Barely. Their vessel emerged heavily damaged. Life support compromised. Hull sections missing. Yet the crew was alive. Investigators rushed to debrief them. What they learned only deepened the mystery. The creature had approached within visual range. The crew described a living structure larger than a moon. Its surface constantly shifted. Its shape changed depending on observation angle. Some witnesses claimed it looked biological. Others insisted it resembled a machine. No two descriptions matched perfectly. The strangest detail came from the ship's sensor officer. He recalled a brief moment before the encounter ended, a moment when the creature seemed to focus directly on their vessel, not attacking, observing, studying. The memory disturbed him more than the damage, because for several seconds he felt as though something ancient had examined every part of him. Then, the creature left, as if the ship wasn't worth its attention. The testimony spread rapidly. Fear followed. Entire frontier worlds began requesting evacuation support. Trade routes shifted. Military patrols doubled. The Council declared a Level 1 interstellar emergency. For the first time in centuries, civilization prepared for a threat it could neither identify nor stop. Then humanity requested access to the recovered drone footage. The request was approved immediately. Researchers expected the humans to confirm existing theories. Instead, the human analysts focused on something everyone else had missed: the movement pattern. The creature wasn't wandering. It was following a route that matched something hidden inside ancient human archives. When Council officials saw the comparison, confusion turned to alarm. The route corresponded to a series of locations scattered throughout the galaxy. At first glance, they appeared unrelated. Different species, different regions, different histories. Then investigators noticed the common factor. Every location had once hosted a major extinction event. Ancient civilizations had vanished there, the same civilizations humanity had quietly studied for centuries. The implications were enormous. The creature wasn't hunting randomly. It was revisiting sites connected to forgotten galactic history, searching for something, or verifying something. Nobody knew which possibility was worse. Meanwhile, another mystery emerged. Long-range sensors detected unusual transmissions near the creature's projected path. The signals were ancient, older than many civilizations, and they were activating automatically. On B1, across multiple systems, the messages contained no language, no words, only repeating mathematical patterns, distress beacons, emergency markers, warnings. Something had triggered them. Something old enough to remember the last time this happened. For the first time, humanity began sharing restricted historical records. The files described discoveries made decades earlier. Discoveries humanity had intentionally kept quiet, not from selfishness, from uncertainty. The evidence suggested that ancient civilizations throughout the galaxy had encountered enormous biological entities before, entities that appeared suddenly, studied advanced civilizations, then disappeared. Entire cultures built myths around them. Most dismissed those stories as legends. Human researchers had not. The ancient records gave those entities a name: world eaters. Not because they consumed planets, because worlds tended to disappear after they arrived. The name sounded primitive, almost superstitious, until investigators realized every historical account described the same thing: the same size, the same behavior, the same impossible characteristics. Council leaders demanded answers. Have humans encountered one before? The response shocked them. No. The human representative answered honestly, not directly. A delegate frowned. Then why aren't you afraid? The human paused, then gave an answer that unsettled everyone present. Because we've been preparing for them. The room fell silent. The statement felt impossible. Preparing? For creatures that most civilizations considered myths? For threats that might not even exist? Yet humanity appeared completely serious. The representative continued. For over 200 years. Now the silence became absolute. The explanation followed. Humanity's deep space monitoring networks had never been designed solely for exploration, nor had they been created for defense against rival civilizations. Their original purpose was observation, tracking anomalies, monitoring forgotten sectors, watching regions connected to ancient extinction events. Most of the time, the effort seemed unnecessary. Then the first disappearances began, and suddenly those centuries of preparation mattered. The Council finally understood why humans had seemed familiar with the threat. Humanity wasn't recognizing the creature. They were recognizing the pattern. The pattern they'd spent generations studying. The pattern no one else believed existed until now. Then came the revelation that changed the entire crisis. An encrypted transmission arrived from a distant monitoring station, one of humanity's oldest facilities, a station so remote that many assumed it had been abandoned. The message contained a single sentence, just 12 words. 12 words that instantly transformed concern into dread. The World Eater is not approaching civilization, it's fleeing something. The report spread through every command center in the galaxy. Military officers reread it repeatedly. Scientists checked the data, again and again, hoping for an error. There wasn't one. The evidence was clear. The creature wasn't invading. It was running. And if something powerful enough to terrify a World Eater existed, then civilization had been preparing for the wrong threat. The true danger was still coming. The message spread across the galaxy within hours. The World Eater is not approaching civilization. It's fleeing something. Entire governments refused to believe it. Military analysts searched desperately for errors. Scientists demanded verification. There was none. The evidence remained unchanged. The massive entity that had terrified entire sectors was running from something even worse. And whatever it feared was closing the distance. For the first time since the crisis began, genuine fear reached Earth. Not panic, not confusion. Fear. Human monitoring stations detected unusual activity beyond the frontier. Ancient beacons that had remained silent for centuries were activating simultaneously. Long-range sensors recorded energy signatures unlike anything in modern databases. The pattern matched only one thing: records recovered from extinct civilizations. Records humanity had spent generations studying. Records most species had dismissed as myths. The ancient texts called them the Harvesters. No one knew if that was their true name, only that the description appeared repeatedly throughout galactic history. Civilizations would rise, expand, prosper. Then, eventually, something arrived. The Harvesters. Entire populations vanished. Cities remained untouched. Infrastructure survived. Technology remained operational. Yet life itself disappeared. World after world, era after era. The cycle repeated. Always the same. Always ending in silence. Human researchers had never fully understood why. Now they were beginning to. The World Eater's flight provided a clue. For the first time, investigators stopped focusing on what the creature was doing. Instead, they examined what it was avoiding. The results shocked everyone. The creature's path curved around specific regions, specific stars, specific worlds. The pattern appeared random, until one scientist noticed the connection. Every avoided system contained human colonies. The discovery triggered immediate reviews. Additional data confirmed the observation. The World Eater avoided Earth-controlled space whenever possible. Not aggressively, not dramatically, but consistently. The implications were extraordinary. Somehow, humanity possessed something the creature recognized, something important enough to influence its behavior. The question became obvious. What? Researchers began examining every possible fact: technology, military strength, communication, energy emissions, biological signatures. Nothing fit. Then a junior atmospheric analyst noticed an anomaly, a tiny detail buried inside centuries of environmental data, something so ordinary that no one had ever considered it significant. Because on Earth, it was everywhere. The analyst compared atmospheric samples from Earth to those of dozens of alien worlds. The difference appeared immediately. Earth contained a remarkable concentration of biological aerosols, microscopic organisms, spores, airborne microbial life, tiny ecosystems drifting through the atmosphere. To humans, they were normal, invisible, unremarkable. To most alien species, they were astonishing. The discovery itself wasn't alarming. The follow-up analysis was, many of Earth's airborne microorganisms displayed unusual adaptability, extreme adaptability. They evolved rapidly, adjusted rapidly, survived conditions that should have killed them. Some remained dormant for decades. Others endured radiation levels considered lethal. Several species could survive vacuum exposure for short periods. The findings fascinated researchers. Until historical records were added, ancient archives from extinct civilizations contained references to similar organisms, not identical, related, microbial ecosystems capable of extraordinary adaptation. The records describe them as environmental guardians, a biological defense mechanism. One civilization even referred to them as the living shield. At first, the phrase sounded poetic. Then scientists discovered something terrifying. Archived biological samples recovered from abandoned worlds showed evidence of widespread microbial collapse. Entire atmospheric ecosystems had died shortly before those civilizations vanished. The timing wasn't coincidence. The pattern repeated too consistently, again and again. Before every extinction event, the living shield disappeared. Then civilization followed. Human researchers worked non-stop, searching for connections, searching for explanations. Then one breakthrough changed everything. The World Eater's biological residue contained microscopic damage, extensive damage. Its tissues showed signs of constant exposure to hostile microorganisms. Microorganisms nearly identical to Earth's atmospheric life. The implications were staggering. Earth's atmosphere wasn't merely unusual. It was hostile, not just to humans, to things far older, far larger, far more dangerous. Military leaders initially rejected the conclusion. The idea sounded absurd. How could microscopic organisms matter against cosmic entities? Then another discovery emerged. Ancient records revealed that the harvesters rarely entered certain regions of space directly. Instead, they relied on intermediaries, scouts, collectors, biological probes, anything to avoid exposure. The pattern suddenly made sense. Earth wasn't merely difficult to harvest. Earth was contaminated. The realization spread rapidly through scientific communities. Humanity had spent centuries wondering why ancient threats never approached Earth directly. Now they finally had an answer. The planet itself was a problem. Its atmosphere, its ecosystems, its endless biological complexity. Earth wasn't just a homeworld. It was a fortress built by evolution. Meanwhile, the frontier situation deteriorated. The World Eater continued retreating. Civilian evacuations accelerated. Entire sectors prepared for worst-case scenarios. Then the first harvester signal appeared. The transmission wasn't intended for civilization. It wasn't even encrypted. The signal seemed more like a navigation update, a routine communication. Yet its contents terrified every analyst who read them, because the message identified Earth specifically, not the Council, not civilization. Earth. The translated phrase appeared simple. Primary contamination source located. The room fell silent. Every scientist understood immediately. The harvesters weren't searching for humanity. They were searching for Earth's biosphere. For centuries, alien civilizations had assumed humans were unusual because they survived a dangerous world. The truth was far stranger. Humanity survived because they were part of the danger. Every human carried trillions of microorganisms. Every ecosystem on Earth contained unimaginable biological diversity. Every breath carried microscopic life. The atmosphere itself functioned as a living system. And apparently, that system represented a threat. Then another revelation arrived, one hidden inside the oldest human archives. A discovery humanity had never fully understood. Until now. More than a century earlier, researchers studying ancient ruins discovered a message left by one of the extinct civilizations. The text was incomplete, damaged, difficult to translate, yet one passage remained readable. The passage described a species searching desperately for refuge, a species fleeing the harvesters, a species searching for a world they called the unbroken garden. For decades, nobody knew what the phrase meant. Now the answer seemed obvious. Earth, a world where the living shield still survived, a world where biological complexity remained intact, a world the harvesters could not easily consume. The realization spread quickly. Then came the final shock. The oldest human monitoring station transmitted an emergency update. The harvester fleet had been detected. Not one fleet, hundreds, emerging from deep space, moving toward civilized regions. And directly behind them, something even larger appeared on sensors. something that dwarfed every previous contact, even the World Eater. The object stretched across thousands of kilometers. Its energy output exceeded planetary scales. Its structure seemed partially biological, partially artificial, and completely incomprehensible. No database contained anything similar. The World Eater had fled from this. Ancient civilizations had vanished because of this. The harvesters served this, and it was heading toward Earth. For the first time in recorded history, the Galactic Council unanimously agreed on one conclusion. Humanity had never been weak. Humanity had never been lucky. Humanity had unknowingly evolved on the one world capable of resisting a threat older than civilization itself. And now that threat had finally arrived. As emergency sirens echoed through command centers across the galaxy, one final transmission emerged from the approaching entity. A message directed toward Earth. A message translated into every known language. A message that ended all remaining doubt. The garden persists. Correction begins now. The message spread across the galaxy in seconds. The garden persists. Correction begins now. Every translation carried the same meaning. Every interpretation reached the same conclusion. The entity approaching Earth viewed life itself as an error. Not humanity. Not civilization. Life. The realization froze entire governments. For centuries, civilizations had assumed the harvesters sought conquest, power, resources, territory. They had been wrong. The harvesters weren't conquerors. They were caretakers. Caretakers of a galaxy they believed should be sterile, orderly, predictable, controlled. Life represented chaos, and Earth represented the greatest concentration of chaos they had ever encountered. The giant entity continued advancing. As it moved through space, entire fleets altered course, not because they were attacked, because they were afraid. The World Eater itself had already retreated beyond known space. The creature that once terrified civilizations was fleeing in panic. That fact alone revealed how dangerous the approaching intelligence truly was. Emergency meetings erupted across every major world. Military leaders demanded plans. Scientists demanded time. Civilian governments demanded hope. None existed. The harvester fleets outnumbered every military force in known space. Their technology surpassed anything the Council possessed, and the colossal entity behind them appeared almost godlike. Many species quietly began preparing evacuation ships, not because they expected victory, because they expected extinction. Earth responded differently. Humanity began mobilizing, not panicking, not fleeing, mobilizing. Every orbital shipyard activated. Defense platforms powered up. Research centers released centuries of classified data. Military fleets departed hidden facilities. And for the first time, the galaxy saw the true scale of human preparation. The hidden network stretched far beyond Earth. Thousands of monitoring stations, hundreds of deep space facilities, ancient scientific outposts, emergency supply depots. Humanity had quietly built an interstellar defense system over generations, not for war against civilizations. For the day the harvesters returned, many alien leaders felt a mixture of relief and shame. Relief because someone had prepared. Shame because humanity had carried the burden alone for centuries, without recognition, without assistance, without certainty they could ever succeed. Then another discovery emerged, one that changed everything. Human researchers completed a detailed analysis of harvester biological data. The results stunned the scientific community. The harvesters were vulnerable, not to weapons, not to fleets, to biology. Earth's atmosphere contained billions of interacting organisms, countless microbial systems, adaptive ecosystems, evolution occurring continuously at microscopic scales. The living shield. The same living shield ancient civilizations had lost before their extinction. The same living shield Earth still possessed. And the same living shield the harvesters feared. For millions of years, the harvesters had encountered predictable environments, controlled ecosystems, stable biological systems. Earth was different. Earth never stopped changing. Its microbial life evolved too quickly, adapted too rapidly, spread too efficiently. The harvesters could sterilize worlds, But Earth kept creating new forms of resistance. Again, and again, and again. The realization transformed human strategy. Victory would not come from destroying the harvesters. Victory would come from surviving them, just as humanity had survived everything else. The first battle began near the outer colonies. Harvester fleets entered defended space, expecting another routine extermination. Instead, they encountered something unprecedented. Human vessels carried atmospheric deployment systems, biological dispersal platforms, environmental seeding technologies, entire fleets dedicated not to destruction, but contamination. The strategy sounded ridiculous. Many alien commanders initially objected. Then the results appeared. Harvester vessels exposed to Earth-derived biological systems began experiencing failures. Adaptive microorganisms spread through their structures. Not rapidly, not dramatically, patiently, like nature itself. Systems malfunctioned. Sensors degraded. Communication networks became unreliable. The living shield was working. The news spread like wildfire. For the first time since the crisis began, the harvesters were slowing, not because they had been defeated, because they were being forced to adapt. And adaptation required time. Time humanity desperately needed. Across the galaxy, something extraordinary happened. Species began contributing, not because treaties demanded it, because they finally understood what humanity had protected. Entire worlds opened research archives. Ancient civilizations shared forgotten data. Scientific institutions pooled resources. Medical networks coordinated efforts. The galaxy stopped acting as separate civilizations and started acting as one. The harvesters continued advancing. But now, every system resisted. Every colony fought back. Every world contributed. Humanity had spent centuries protecting the galaxy. Now the galaxy returned the favor. Then the colossal entity reached the solar system. The moment every prediction feared. The moment every contingency planned for. The giant structure emerged beyond Pluto. And for the first time, humanity saw the intelligence behind the harvesters. It was beautiful, terrifyingly beautiful. An impossible fusion of machine and life, ancient beyond imagination, older than most stars. Its presence alone disrupted communications, distorted gravity, bent sensor readings. Yet it did not attack immediately. It simply observed Earth. For several hours, nothing happened. Then a transmission arrived. Direct, clear, unmistakable. The entity addressed humanity personally. Not the council, not civilization. Humanity. The message contained a question. Just one. A question that explained everything. Why do you continue? Human leaders spent hours debating a response. Military commanders suggested silence. Scientists suggested negotiation. Politicians suggested caution. Eventually, a civilian proposal was chosen. A simple answer. A human answer. The transmission sent back to the entity contained only 8 words. Because someone has to keep trying. The response echoed across the galaxy. Many expected the entity to ignore it. Others expected retaliation. Instead, something unexpected occurred. The entity paused. For the first time since its arrival, uncertainty appeared. Ancient archives later revealed why. The harvesters understood conquest, control, prediction, efficiency. They did not understand humanity. Humanity continued fighting when logic said surrender, continued helping when success seemed impossible, continued protecting strangers who could offer nothing in return. To the harvesters, such behavior made no sense, and that confusion became their weakness. As the standoff continued, Earth's living shield kept spreading. Microbial ecosystems reached harvester fleets, then support systems, then infrastructure. The adaptive biological network expanded faster than expected. Not because humanity controlled it, because life was doing what life always did. Surviving, adapting, growing. Weeks later, the first harvester fleet withdrew. Then another. Then dozens more. The process accelerated. The giant entity observed the change, calculated probabilities, analyzed outcomes. Eventually, it reached a conclusion. Earth could not be corrected. Not completely, not permanently. Life would return. Life always returned. For the first time in recorded history, the harvesters retreated. Not defeated, not destroyed, unable to achieve certainty, unable to guarantee success, unable to eliminate the unpredictable force called life. The retreat became known as the Great Withdrawal. Entire civilizations celebrated, worlds illuminated their skies, fleets returned home, the galaxy survived. Years later, scholars continued debating what truly happened. Military analysts credited human strategy. Scientists credited the living shield. Historians credited centuries of preparation. All were partly correct, yet the deeper lesson remained the same. The galaxy had spent generations viewing humanity as fragile, a species from a dangerous world, a young civilization struggling to survive. Then they scanned Earth's atmosphere.